Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I am Amarachi Ubani. Last week, two major summits held in two opposite regions of the world. The Climate Change Summit in Paris, attended by leaders and delegates from around the world, and the China-Africa Summit, which brought together leaders in Africa to talk about their ever-growing partnership with China. It's been a busy week for President Muhammadu Buhari, who attended both summits, while delegates in Paris approved a draft text in the hope it would form the basis of an agreement to curb global carbon emissions. Leaders in Africa left South Africa smiling, having received assurances from China to plow $60 billion into agriculture and infrastructure projects across the continent. Many have asked, what does Africa usually bring to these summits, because they usually end up with donations and pledges and pleas for better impact. But Africa is changing. Leaders are gradually becoming more aware of their roles as servants of the people, not lords, and are making themselves more accountable. We have examples in Nigeria and Tanzania where governments have made a mission of fighting corruption, and hopefully the fever will catch on more rapidly. But while leaders were meeting in Paris and Joburg, a group of people in eastern Nigeria were trying to make their voices heard. Our discussion today is not to approve or criticize the group, but history has shown when a people are not heard, they tend to become violent eventually, and the innocent become victims. Stay with us on Diplomatic Channel as we discuss these issues. We'll be right back. Welcome back. COP21 delegates over the weekend approved a 48-page document that they hope will form the basis of an agreement to curb global carbon emission. This has been the main discussion all week, that they would be able to come up with a new global agreement on climate change aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions to avoid the threat of dangerous warming due to human activities.
Thank you very much.
The draft was prepared by delegates from nearly 200 countries who adopted it, following 4 years of deliberations on resolving the varying points of disagreement.
But it also reflects the
The text, a 42-page document, lays out options ranging from a long-term goal for slowing climate change to rising climate finance for developing nations that can be resolved by ministers during talks this week. Many nations said the draft, which was launched in Durban in 2011, had left too many issues unresolved. But the chief Swiss negotiator, Franz Perez, is positive about its success, though he said much work needs to be done.
Dear colleagues, the text as it is clearly contains the agreement which we are going to adopt next week. It contains its elements, but it also reflects the important political decisions that we still have to resolve. It is a good basis for our further work. Let me highlight that in contrast to COP15 in Copenhagen, we do have a strong basis for our negotiations developed by all parties together.
It's quite remarkable that there is no...
According to Greenpeace's head of international climate politics, Martin Kaiser, the agreement could be said to be on track, with ambitious options still included. He, however, regretted that the goal of 100% renewables by 2020 was missing.
It's quite remarkable that there is no procedural fight going on in these corridors here in Paris, and there seems to be a huge will to come to an agreement by the end of next week. With the current text on the table, there are still strong options which could help to limit global warming far below 1.5 or 2 degrees. What is still missing in the text is a clear vision to go 100% renewable energy by mid-century, which gives us a chance to help those people who suffer most from catastrophic climate change.
On Thursday last week, UN Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon said nearly all the countries that participated in the climate change conference had submitted climate action plans.
Major economies have made significant commitment to cut emissions. Many developed countries have made new financial commitments to help poor and vulnerable countries adapt to climate impact.
Meanwhile, the Indian government has decided that private cars in the capital, New Delhi, would be banned from its roads from the 1st of January in an attempt to improve air quality in what has been described as the world's most polluted city. To help with clean transportation, the government will run extra buses and ask the Metro Rail network to increase its services to cope with more people. The move is received with mixed reactions. But the action could help reduce pollution, as the World Health Organization said last year that India had 13 of the 20 most polluted cities on the planet, New Delhi being the worst. The deal in Paris will be seen as by far the strongest ever agreed by many countries to limit greenhouse gas emissions.
When we come back on Diplomatic Channel, China declares a new era of partnership with Africa, but will Africa be able to sustain its end of the bargain? Please join us again.